Welcome to everyone. This is Jack Horak from Tango, and this is the video edition, so to speak, of my December 2020 nonprofit newsletter. And I have a real pleasure this month, and that is I have two people who represent an organization called Hartford Youth Scholars. It's an organization I had the privilege of serving as a board member some time back. Um, and it's just an amazing story. And they do so much good that's easily quantifiable, that the organization reeks out for your support. I mean, it really is good stuff. You give money to this organization and you get a measurable bang for the buck. I'm going to shut up because I want Anthony Byers, the CEO, and Roxanna Booth Miller, the development officer, to tell their story to the people who listen in. Anthony, you want to start?
Yeah, I'll jump right in. Thanks for having us, Jack. And like I always say, Hartford Youth Scholars is our favorite thing to talk about. And unfortunately, it's one of the area's best kept secret. And it's
Yeah.
you know not enough people know about the work that we're doing. And what kind of broad 3,000 30,000 foot view kind of picture of what we're doing is we're trying to you know, see more Hartford students not only go to college, but graduate from college career ready. Back in 2005, when we were just an idea, the thought was, how do we get more Hartford students to and through college? And it was a pressing issue at the time, because only 29% of Hartford students were graduating from high school at that time, which meant even fewer were going to college, fewer were graduating from college. And hey, since then, Hartford public schools have really made some tremendous advancements. And, we definitely view ourselves as partners with Hartford Public
Yep.
School, and, a support to the work that they're doing. But, the program that we run was initially started with the thought that, there's some really great like independent school opportunities locally,
Yep.
right? For Hartford students. And we thought at the time that the only barrier for access to those opportunities was the fact that they couldn't afford them, right? Because these schools can cost upwards of $50,000, $60,000
That's
a year
amazing.
to attend, and the average Hartford family doesn't have that, right? So we thought we'd raise money to send students to those opportunities, and quickly learn in terms of feedback a couple of things. One, that money wasn't the only barrier for access to these schools. Some of it was, the majority of it was preparedness, right?
Yeah.
And so hence kind of birthed our programming. And then kind of through, I've been with the organization going on 14 years now. I mean, in the 14 years that I've been with the org, it's not just money, right? That is true. It isn't just preparedness; it's also fit, right? So,
Yep.
there's a number of things that was competing against, access into these independent schools. But one of the things that we've learned kind of through our tenure of working, doing this work, is that talent is evenly distributed, right? All across the nation, all across the world.
Right.
Opportunities aren't, right?
Right. Yep.
So, one of the things that we wanted to do is open up opportunities, more opportunities, and close that opportunity gap, to high school options for our students. So, we went back to the drawing board, ended up partnering with an organization out in Boston called the Stepping Stone
Oh, yeah,
Foundation.
I remember that. Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Has another affiliate organization out in Philadelphia. They were looking kind of to like expand their model nationally. And we were looking for something to kind of follow. So we have what's now called the Collegiate Academy, but at the time was called the Stepping Stone Academy Hartford, right?
Right.
Um, we kind of migrated from the idea of the Stepping Stone Academy Hartford because Hartford is, its own
Yep.
beast, and it's unique, and has its own set of challenges and opportunities. So we have since kind of parted ways with the Stepping Stone Foundation,
Okay.
although still friendly and
Yeah.
affiliates, and
Yeah.
someone from the
Understandable.
foundation sits on our board. But we have kind of our own programming
And
at
it
Hartford Youth Scholars
and it's
that
cool.
spans over 10.
Really
Yeah.
cool programming. And just one, and maybe to Roxanne, this. I mean, what impressed me about it when I first was introduced to you years ago, maybe by Don Wilson, was how, I mean, you start with kids in middle school and you stay on them. You stay on them all the way into high school and through high school. And I was just, I mean, and really stayed with them, you know. I mean, I had the pleasure of meeting some of their parents at one of the graduations at, I think, at Trinity years ago.
Yep.
But I was just so impressed that these kids were so motivated that they would spend their summer vacation time going to school with your tutors instead of just being kids for the summer. You're being out. Roxanne, I mean, is that, and that's still the plan, right? You start at that level and you kind of mentor them and grow with them.
It's absolutely, I have a great memory and remembrance for what we started out doing and what has never changed. We give our students starting in 6th grade, think about it, your 12-year-old self, until they graduate from college, consistent, and, you know, intensive support, 30 students a year. So we feel like we're having a really, you
That's
know,
great.
in a city the size of
Great
Hartford,
number,
really
Anthony.
finding 30
Yeah.
students who want to do this program and want to invest this kind of time in their future at 12 years old. You know, you're thinking about, like you said, being a kid for the summer, playing video games, playing outside.
Yeah.
Instead, you're electing to go to 3 summers of rigorous academic preparedness. The one thing that we have added on, which I think has been great, which is really in the area of social emotional, is we always had with some of our corporate partners the opportunity to take advantage of the arts in Hartford.
Yep.
But we do that even more so with some private funding that we got, you know, from an individual. And over time, we've been able to continue that. So we take students to the Bushnell, we take them to Hartford Stage, we take them
Wow.
to the Yard Goats. So they get, you know, life skills and exposure again.
And
to
how big
things
is your
beyond
how
just
big is your staff doing all this work? Did this get? I mean, it's not. I mean, you guys work hard. My impression is that you're lean and that I mean, the two of you work very hard, and others put in the time.
Yep. For over 260 students, that's from 6th grade up till college graduation seniors.
Wow.
That's 260 students. We have a staff of less than full-time 8 people.
Wow.
I think it's also important to mention that, you know, we have paid faculty, right? So it's
Yeah.
not just a tutor, it's not just a volunteer during the summer, and it's a returning faculty too, which, you know, so a lot of our scholars definitely make connections with like Roxanna and myself, but a lot of the, you know, support and kind of foundation is laid in the classroom, right? So, you know, I'd be remiss if I didn't, you know, mention that the faculty that's a part of our team also.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember. I think I may have even met some of the people who were teaching English or math over the summer. I remember thinking to myself, I hope I could pass their course. They looked like they were like, whoa, they looked like, I mean, it was really no nonsense stuff. I mean, it was like, it was admirable.
Yeah.
Admirable on your part. You know, when I left the board, I think the first cohort was maybe in college or getting out of college. I don't remember, but I understand now. You've got some kids, some of your kids in medical school and in programs, and there's success stories all over the place. And even better, there's a tendency, I guess, on some part to come back to Hartford, right? I mean, for these, I call them kids, these young adults, you know, to come back and be involved in their community again.
It's the best part, you know, of the work,
Yeah.
right? I mean, for a long time, you know, again, I've been with the org 14 years, and you know, at first it was like, you know, I share a similar story to the students,
Yeah.
so I know it works, right? That like, you know, you stick to it, and you know, you do all of the things, you get all of the support, and have access to the opportunities. That good things happen as a result of that. But like getting the scholars to buy into that for 10 years and like not having a student, you know, walk across the college stage, and you know, they were kind of, you know, following blindly. But you know, now that we have students that have graduated, you know, it's been organic. You know, I mean, I think we've done things kind of intentionally, like again, showing them all of the opportunities and like all of, you know, the philanthropy and locally and the supports that they have that kind of help them get to that point. But you know, we didn't say that you have to come back to Hartford, right? And like live and raise a family. Like that's something that, you know, they wanted to do because, you know, one thing about, you know, Hartford students is, they love where they're from, right? And you should. And
yeah.
and they kind of have that drive to want to come back and make their city a better place. So, I mean,
success breeds success, and you get a lot of I'm gonna come. It's like your extended family. It's I'm sure they're like your family. You love these kids, and you've seen them grow from 12 to 20, whatever, and become successful contributing members of the community. That's about as good as it gets in life. I mean, if you do that with your own kids, it's a blessing, and for you to have that many young people kind of related to you that way is a testament to who you are as people and your dedication to doing this all these years.
And I think the confidence that has been built, and scholars over time, I think of you mentioned one of our scholars going off into med school. That's one of our actually we have a couple, at this point, but I think of one that has, that was from our very first cohort. And, I remember her being one of our most challenging, and I'm not sugarcoating this, and I'm not just saying this. She was literally one of our most challenging students at the time. But kind of throughout, the light started to come on, and it's so much about, taking a student from a environment that, where it's not popular to be the smart kid, and, you're not surrounded by, opportunities and, folks that have, ever gone to med school. It's always just been kind of like this dream, right? That, that never felt really attainable, that things just, and then, the more she kind of worked at it and worked at it and worked at it, and, was surrounded by people that, were doing other really awesome and cool things. Like, again, I think, it really just started to shape, like, oh my gosh, like I can actually do the things that I, set out to do, and I can advocate for myself. And and over in the midst of a pandemic, right? She picked up the phone and she's like, hey, I'm AB now. I'm not Mr. Byers. She's like, hey, AB, like, I got some good news to tell you. I just finished my bridge program, and in January, I'm going to be traveling to start my med school. And it's just like, I remember, you being the 7th grade kid, and, but she's balancing that with the fact that, like, I want to help my mom, and I want to help, my little bro, and, and she's going to come back to her community on the north end of Hartford, a doctor wearing the white coat, and, just all of the people that she's not talking to directly that might have seen her walking through the community. It's like, I remember Miss Jordan, right? When she was, a kid, and now she's back, right? And it's that impact that, that she can touch, right? And, like, her immediate circle, but it's also an impact of things that she's not even seeing and touching.
The role model she may be for other in her community, right, Roxanna? I mean, other kids behind her will say, hey, she did it. And the point is, they can too. They need help, but the potential is there inside all of these young people.
That's kind of the effect that we can't even qualify. I would love to be able to, but the fact that beyond the individual scholars that we're helping, we're really helping their families, their family units. And then you expand that out. Exactly what you say, Jack, is, someone who lived next door or down the street sees her, remembers her, and then thinks, maybe that's for me. Maybe there's a different path for me to take.
Well, guys, this is, in my mind, you're an example of the nonprofit sector at its pinnacle, at its best. It doesn't mean you have to be a bazillion-dollar organization with hundreds of employees. You have found that operating space where your system works excellently. And it's just good for you. And what I am going to do is, we're going to have to wrap this up in a minute here, but I like to keep Tango involved with you all some more as we go forward. Anthony, I was saying, Roxanna, we have a program that we've developed to try to recruit more and more diverse populations to serve on nonprofit boards of directors. We have a whole program dedicated to that effort. A guy named Fred Janor, Roxanne, I think you know Fred, right? African-American guy who runs that for us. And what we're trying to do is find young people of color, right, who want to serve on nonprofit boards. And, they run into the usual obstacles. They may be the only person of color on the board, all of the other social issues. But Fred and I have a system whereby we were going to train young people so well, and we're going to place them on boards looking for more diverse directors that we think we can really gain some momentum. And we may be coming back to you saying, if some of your scholars who've graduated college and are back around here, we're going to get this Tango nonprofit academy up and running, or in winter, spring. Maybe we can, double the return.
Yeah. Well,
You
that's a great, closing line, Jack, is that
Yeah.
we have, every day or every milestone we hit, we have more students who are, eligible to do that. We have employees now at Travelers, at Cigna, at Hartford Healthcare,
All
living
those
and
people,
working in the
yeah.
community, that I think people would be delighted to have on their nonprofit board. So
Exactly.
expect to hear more from us.
Yeah, we'll be back to you on that too. Well, look, have a wonderful Christmas season, guys. Thank you. I mean, this is just, again, for me, it's great for me to reconnect, get my mind back wrapped around what you're doing. All the best to you and your board and your students. And we'll be in touch, and we'll see if we can't develop some additional synergies and find different ways to help you out. I do, for example, know that the Schuster Group, that is the founder of Tango, has a massive presence in the independent schools business throughout New England, not just, and I mean, the relationships with over 120 of them, I think, so maybe that's just another area we could do some networking with you guys.
Yeah, be
Sounds
great.
great.
Rollin Schuster runs that, a wonderful guy and generous guy. And I'm sure if there's a way to help expand your presence into the independent school network, he'd be happy to do it for you.
Yeah, we're always interested in making more friends.
You got it, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you for the great stories. It makes me feel good. It really does.
Awesome.
Good news, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.